Let me break it to you straight. Women don't accidentally come back after you go silent. It's part psychology, part attraction, and part their realization that you've mastered a game they thought only they could play. The no contact rule isn't just some gimmick you read about online. It's the closest thing to a reset button in your romantic life, and yes, it works. Women love a man who knows his worth, and the moment you enforce no contact, you're subtly declaring that you are in control. In a world where men are often accused of being too eager or too available, stepping back is nothing short of revolutionary. Controversial? Sure. But that's exactly why it gets results. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how people only seem to value what they think they can lose? It's human nature. When you apply no contact, you're pulling back your attention, the one thing they took for granted, and it disrupts their emotional balance. Suddenly, you've gone from always there to a mystery they can't unravel. Here's the thing. When a woman starts thinking about you again during no contact, she isn't just remembering the good times. She's wrestling with doubt, curiosity, and the sneaky realization that maybe, just maybe, she miscalculated your worth. You become the enigma, the man who isn't waiting around like all the others. Does no contact manipulate emotions? Absolutely. But it's not about revenge or games. It's about standing firm in your value and letting her come to terms with what she stands to lose. If that sounds too bold or cold, consider this. Men who chase often lose, but men who retreat become magnetic. Get ready to unpack exactly why this happens and how you can use no contact to rewrite your romantic story. 1. Attention is the new currency. Why she notices when you stop giving it. Here's the harsh truth that most men won't admit. Attention is everything. In today's world, attention isn't just a resource, it's currency, especially in relationships. Women thrive on it, they crave it. And whether they admit it or not, they notice immediately when it's gone. When you were chasing her, your attention was like a faucet, always running, always available. Compliments, texts, reactions to her stories, you name it, she had it on demand. But when you switch gears and go silent, the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, she's no longer swimming in the overflow of your validation. And trust me, she feels that drought. You see, constant attention creates comfort. Comfort breeds complacency. The moment you take that attention away, a psychological shift happens. She begins to question things. Why isn't he texting anymore? Is he seeing someone else? Wait, did I underestimate him? The questions might seem subtle, but their impact is monumental. Your silence forces her to focus on your absence, on what she's lost. And if there's one thing people hate, it's the idea of losing something they assumed was theirs. But let's get this straight. Going no contact doesn't mean you're playing hard to get. It's about reclaiming your time and energy from someone who didn't value it in the first place. By stepping back, you're teaching her the real value of your attention because it's no longer cheap or guaranteed. Women notice because they're wired to. Attention activates the reward centers in their brain. When the dopamine supply dries up, they're left wondering why. This isn't manipulation, it's human psychology. The more unavailable you are, the more valuable you become. And here's where it gets controversial. Women want attention from high-value men, not guys who hand it out like free samples at a mall. Your decision to withdraw attention tells her something crucial. You're no longer playing her game. You've leveled up, and now she has to decide whether she wants to re-enter your world. Remember this, attention isn't just a gift, it's a form of power. Use it wisely. 2. Psychological triggers. How distance sparks curiosity and doubt in women. Let's cut to the chase. Distance is powerful. It does something no compliment or confession ever can. It triggers a woman's subconscious mind to pay attention. When you go quiet and pull back, you're setting off psychological alarms that she simply can't ignore. Here's the science behind it. Humans are wired to respond to change, especially when it's unexpected. When your attention shifts from her to silence, her brain instinctively notices the difference. She begins asking herself questions, not because she wants to, but because her subconscious won't let it go. What happened to him? Why does this feel weird? Is he over me? Curiosity and doubt are powerful motivators. They create emotional tension, a state where she feels unsettled because something doesn't add up. This is why distance is such an effective psychological trigger. It isn't about punishing her or playing mind games. It's about shifting the dynamic so that she starts to miss what she once took for granted. And here's the kicker. Women often equate attention with value. When that attention disappears, it forces them to evaluate what they're missing and why it mattered in the first place. It plants seeds of self-doubt, even if they won't admit it to anyone, not even themselves. Distance also creates mystery. The less accessible you are, the harder it is for her to predict your next move. And let's be real, humans are naturally drawn to what they can't figure out. Your absence creates an emotional gap, and her brain is wired to fill that gap, often with curiosity and longing. Now here's where it gets even more controversial. Your silence triggers something called the rejection effect. This is the phenomenon where being ignored or rejected increases someone's desire to win back approval. Your distance makes her work harder for the connection she once had, and that's where the power lies. Understand this, the real beauty of distance isn't just that it makes her curious, it's that it flips the script entirely. The attention dynamic shifts, and now she's the one wondering, chasing, and feeling unsettled. That's how distance works. It's psychology in action. Use it not as a tool of manipulation, but as a way to reframe how you're perceived. Sometimes saying nothing speaks the loudest. 3. Scarcity over availability. Why being less accessible makes you irresistible. The truth is simple. People value what feels scarce. This isn't just some abstract idea, it's deeply rooted in how we're wired as humans. When something is always available, it's easy to overlook. But the moment that same thing becomes harder to access, its perceived value skyrockets. The same rule applies to relationships and attention. When you're constantly available, always the one answering, always the one showing up, you become predictable. Predictability leads to comfort, and comfort can quickly turn into boredom. By being less accessible, you break that cycle. You stop being just another option and become a priority. Think about it. When you step back and give someone space to miss you, you're not just removing yourself physically, you're creating an emotional void. That absence is powerful because it forces the other person to reflect on what you bring to the table. They start to wonder what you're doing, who you're with, and why they no longer have your attention. Scarcity doesn't mean playing games or being aloof. It means choosing when and how to engage. It means not jumping at every opportunity to be present just because you can. That restraint sends a subtle but powerful message. You value yourself, your time, and your energy. The allure of scarcity works because it creates desire. Desire thrives in the unknown, in the what if. When you're always there, there's nothing to anticipate, nothing to chase. But when you're selective with your time and energy, you turn interactions into something they look forward to, something they need. Here's the beauty of it. The less accessible you are, the more people appreciate the moments they do get with you. It's not just about making yourself scarce for the sake of it. It's about reminding them, and yourself, that your value doesn't lie in constant availability. You're not playing hard to get. You're demonstrating that your time and attention are worth earning. That's the real power of scarcity. It's not just about how others see you, it's about how you see yourself. By making yourself less available, you automatically set a higher standard for the kind of interactions you're willing to entertain. When something, or someone, becomes a little harder to reach, that's when people start realizing just how much they want it. 4. The power shift. How no contact puts you back in control. Let's be real for a second. Too many men hand over their power without even realizing it. You're so caught up in chasing, pleasing, and overanalyzing that you don't notice what's really happening. You've put yourself in a position of constant giving, hoping she'll reciprocate. But here's the harsh truth. You can't control someone else's feelings when you're too busy losing control of your own. The no contact rule isn't just about making her miss you. It's about making you wake up. It's a wake-up call to reclaim the power you've willingly given away. When you step back and embrace silence, you're not playing games. You're finally showing self-respect. This isn't about punishing her or proving a point. It's about shifting the dynamic so you're no longer the one begging for breadcrumbs of attention. Here's a tough question. How can you expect someone to respect you when you don't respect your own boundaries? If you're constantly available, apologizing for things you didn't even do, or tiptoeing around her moods, you've given her the keys to your emotional well-being. That's not power, it's surrender. No contact shifts the narrative. It reminds her and yourself that you're not just some guy she can string along. You're a man who knows his worth. The silence creates space, and in that space, she has the chance to feel your absence. And guess what? If she doesn't notice or care, it only means you were fighting a battle that was never yours to win. Here's the advice. Stop acting like your happiness depends on her reaction. It doesn't. Take control by valuing your time, your energy, and most importantly, yourself. That's what no contact is about. It's not about ignoring her forever. It's about pausing long enough to let the dust settle on her emotions and on yours. Criticism stings, but here's the truth. If you keep overextending yourself for someone who isn't meeting you halfway, you're not a martyr. You're just unaware. Wake up and recognize this. Relationships thrive on balance, not desperation. Silence, used wisely, is a tool to restore that balance. Because here's the reality. When you're grounded in your own value, you're no longer chasing, you're choosing. And that is where the real power lies. 5. The return. What brings her back and why it's not love, but desire. When she comes back, it's not because she suddenly realized she's madly in love with you. Let's clear that up right now. The truth is, her return is often driven by something deeper and more primal than love. It's desire. That emotional pull she feels isn't about your history or how much effort you've put in before. It's about how your absence made her feel and the undeniable urge to reconnect with what she can no longer ignore. The no contact rule works because it shifts the dynamic entirely. When you step away, she's left with her own thoughts, her own questions, and most importantly, her own sense of loss. It's not that she suddenly forgot all the reasons you two didn't work out before. It's that her perception of you has changed. In her mind, you're no longer the guy who was readily available. You've become an intriguing puzzle she can't quite solve. Desire thrives in uncertainty. When she doesn't know where you stand, when she doesn't have full access to you anymore, that's when her mind starts spinning. Women are driven by emotional curiosity, and your absence creates that perfect storm of intrigue and doubt. It's not love bringing her back. It's the desire to bridge the emotional gap your silence created. But here's where men often mess up. They mistake her return for a permanent shift in dynamics. The truth is, her coming back is just one step. It's what you do next that defines everything. If you immediately revert to old habits, showering her with excessive attention or seeking her approval, the scales tip right back out of balance, and she'll lose that spark of desire as quickly as it reignited. So what's the real lesson here? Her return isn't validation of who you are. It's proof of the power of detachment. What made her come back wasn't your constant effort or your availability. It was your ability to pull away, stand firm, and remind her of what she stands to lose. Remember, desire is a powerful motivator, but it requires careful handling. If she returns, don't just fall back into the same dynamic. Instead, maintain the boundaries and self-respect that made her notice you in the first place. That's how you keep the power balanced and keep her interest alive. Let's face it, love doesn't make her come back. Loss does. The moment she realizes what she took for granted is gone, that's when her interest resurfaces. It's controversial, but it's the truth most people won't tell you. The real challenge is what you do with that return, because going back to old habits means losing her all over again. I want to hear from you. Have you ever used no contact, or are you planning to? Comment below with your story or struggles, and I'll personally reach out to share advice and connect with you. Let's figure it out together.